How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is John and I give you regular updates on the world of space and tech, so let's get into it. Okay, so when you think about SpaceX, you also think about Elon Musk, and the missions he's been talking about the last few years have been going to Mars. But recently, because of all the developments about the Chinese going to the moon, NASA's going to the moon, he's now shifted his focus to the moon. So let's get into it. Just recently, Musk signalled a significant shift, saying Mars isn't his first focus anymore. Now, the main priority is building what he calls a self-growing city on the moon, and that shift alone could delay serious Mars settlement missions into the early or mid-2030s. So what exactly has changed, and why would the man obsessed with Mars suddenly put the moon first? So in early February 2026, Musk posted that SpaceX will still build a city on Mars, but the overriding priority, he said, is establishing a lunar city first because it can be built faster. He now describes the Mars city building missions are going to start in about 5 to 7 years. That pushes the first serious wave of Mars-bound Starships into the early 2030s. That's roughly half a decade later than some early projections. So a bit about the launch window problem. Mars and Earth only line up favourably every 26 months. That means efficient Mars transfer windows happen just once every little over 2 years, guys. You miss that window, you wait, and once you launch, the trip takes roughly 6 months. That's half a year before you even know if your system worked. So if something breaks, you don't get fast feedback. You have to wait years to try again. Now compare that to the moon. You can launch to the moon roughly every 10 days. The trip takes about 2 days. Yes, 2 days. That means rapid iteration. Test something, fix it, launch it again. From an engineering standpoint, the moon is a laboratory, whereas Mars is a full commitment, and Elon's strategy has always favoured rapid iteration. SpaceX's entire philosophy is built around their interactive development. They didn't perfect the Falcon 9 before flying it. They flew it, failed, learnt, and then improved things. Starship follows the same philosophy. Explode, analyse, upgrade, and then repeat. And this works when your test cycle is short. It doesn't work well when each test cycle takes 2 years. So if you're trying to build a self-growing city, meaning infrastructure that expands itself using local resources, you need constant feedback loops, power systems, life support, construction, autonomous robotics, closed loop recycling. The moon lets you refine those systems quickly, whereas Mars doesn't. So basically, the moon becomes a training ground. And the moon has other advantages too. It's 3 days away. It's not 6 months away like Mars is. Communication delay is about 1 second, and it's not up to like 22 minutes like Mars. Resupply missions are routine and they won't be rare. If something goes catastrophically wrong, evacuation is possible. Mars doesn't give you that luxury, unfortunately. The moon also offers access to polar ice water. That water can be split into hydrogen and oxygen, which in turn creates rocket fuel, which means lunar fuel economy could emerge on the moon. And that really matters because refueling in space dramatically changes the economics of deep space missions. A lunar industrial base could reduce the cost of going to Mars massively. In that sense, the moon isn't replacing Mars, it's just becoming a stepping stone that can get us to Mars. And there's another factor. NASA's Artemis program is already focused on returning humans to the moon. Starship is under contract as a human landing system for Artemis missions, so SpaceX has already got government-aligned lunar objectives. Building infrastructure on the moon fits both Musk's long-term goals and NASA's near-term roadmap, whereas you get Mars remains almost entirely a SpaceX-driven ambition. So aligning with lunar priorities may accelerate funding and partnerships and operational experience. So what does this mean for Mars? Does this mean Mars is abandoned? No. Elon actually says SpaceX will still build a city on Mars, but instead of rushing cargo missions as early as the late 2020s. Serious city building efforts now appear to shift to the early 2030s, and this timeline actually aligns with full Starship reusability, orbital refueling mastery, lunar infrastructure testing, and autonomous construction validation. So the moon is basically phase 1 and then Mars becomes phase 2. So in the long-term sense, this sequence really matters, and the shift actually makes Mars more achievable. So rushing to Mars without a proven off-world industrial base would be risky. So testing large-scale habitat construction on the moon could prevent catastrophic failures on Mars. And once we're on the moon, it's going to be easier to learn how to extract the water on the moon. But if you go over to Mars, you've not had practice with that, this can be quite tricky, so the moon is like a testing ground. So obviously it's a lot closer, doesn't take too long to get there. So it's a no-brainer that they're testing everything on the moon first. So if you follow Elon Musk for years, the pivot can probably feel a bit confusing. Like I felt a bit confused. He spent a decade insisting Mars was the destination. He dismissed that the moon is just a distraction. So hearing that a lunar city now comes first feels like a reversal. But maybe it isn't. Maybe he's maturing to the idea that he's seen what all the other companies are doing, wanting to go to the moon first. And that is building a civilization off Earth isn't just a slogan anymore. It's infrastructure, it's life support, it's redundancy, and it's logistics. And those are the things that reward iteration more than ideology. The moon offers speed, whereas if you go to Mars, that demands a massive commitment. The early 2030s may now mark the first serious wave towards a Martian city. But before humanity becomes multi-planetary, it may need to prove it can build and sustain something much closer to home. So now let's talk about what SpaceX are actually doing right now. So while the rhetoric shifts towards the moon, the hardware tells the real story. Starship is still the centerpiece, while SpaceX continues high altitude and orbital test campaigns, refining their re-entry profiles, heat shield durability and boost recovery systems. Not just flying once, but flying again quickly. And this matters a lot more for the moon than Mars. A lunar build-out demands frequent launches, cargoes, equipment and power systems plus habitats. And SpaceX is also working towards orbital refueling. And this is probably the most critical capability for both lunar and Martian missions. Without refueling, Starship can't deliver massive payloads beyond Earth orbit. Then there's NASA's Artemis program. Starship has been selected as the human landing system for Artemis 3 and beyond. That means SpaceX is already deeply integrated into lunar surface plans. Lunar landings aren't theoretical, they're contracted. Meanwhile, SpaceX continues deploying Starlink at scale. The revenue stream isn't just about internet satellites. It funds Starship development, it funds iteration, it funds the long game. And if Elon is serious about building a self-growing city on the moon, the foundation is already being laid. Heavy lift launch capability, reusable rockets, high launch cadence, autonomous operations, and mass manufacturing. These are lunar tools and they are Mars tools later. The difference is timing. Right now, the moon allows SpaceX to prove the system works. It allows them to refine the life support system and to test the surface construction, all without waiting 2 years between attempts. So maybe this isn't a swift away from Mars, and maybe it's a recognition that the shortest path to Mars isn't straight. It loops through the moon first, because building a civilization beyond Earth isn't about bold statements, it's about systems that survive. And if SpaceX can build a self-growing city 240,000 miles away, then Mars becomes not just possible, it feels like it's actually going to happen.